Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. I love that point right there. I think that might be the art of coaching. That because you
when to be stubborn.
Yeah, because anybody can go online and find a practice plan. I could go online right now and pick Hubie Brown, one of his practice plans.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's out there and it's all timed, and I could just go right down it. And a lot of people would watch that and be like, golly, it flowed, it really moved well. But was I taking the time, one, to know myself well enough? What am I really looking for? Rick Torbett said it takes you 10 years to figure out who you are as a coach. And I don't know if that's exact, but for me, it feels about right there. I mean, 6 years an assistant, 4 or 5 years messing up horribly as a head coach until I started to maybe figure it out, still learning, obviously. But I think the art of coaching is knowing what you're about and being willing to be stubborn and stick with moments, but then not so stubborn with your plan that you're just going to waste time. I'll tell you this. I had last night, I recorded with Art Briles. And the reason I've got Art Briles on, because I'm not a big football guy. I love the Cowboys. I couldn't tell you much of what's really happening on there. And I'll try to fake it a little bit, but I don't know much about it. But when he was at Baylor, the fast football style they played, a lot of coaches had told me to go watch his practices. I never got to. And so I was just thinking of guys to have on it. And he came up, and everything that you're talking about, that's exactly what he was. He was like, as soon as we've got it and I feel good about it, we're going to move on. We're not just going to stay in something. I wonder if that's really a difference maker for some coaches in their practice planning with culture, with anything is their stubbornness to stick in an area that we haven't got yet, and we're not going to go on until we get this. Or then also the awareness of, you know what? I feel good about this. Let's move on. Maybe that's
the platinum elite, like last layer of Hall of Fame level coaches is this point, and I wanted to share this on your podcast, is the stubbornness of what you want to. You can only pick 2 or 3 things that you're going to be amazing at. Like, coach, like I said, Coach Sampson would be toughness, rebounding, defense, taking care of the ball. That's their program. Now, there's a lot of things they work on, but that's who they are. A Bob Hoffman program is going to be execution is going to be somewhere up there. The type of teammate you are is going to be up there. Everybody knows when you're in his program. Everybody knows the important things. For Coach Bennett and Coach McKay, it would be the humility, the servanthood, the defense, the pack line, the getting a quality shot, and all that. But what I've found with those guys that are getting to the end of their career, where they're really figuring out, they're mastering the art of coaching, is that they're known for their stubbornness. Like, everybody knows all the stories of how many people try to get Tony Bennett to go zone at different times. And he's like, look, I don't care if we're getting beat. We're not going zone. Like, we're playing man. This is what we do. And like, no matter how many times somebody wants to tell Kelvin Sampson that, hey, coach, when we put that bubble on the thing, somebody could get hurt. He's like, we got to be who we are, like, we're going to ride or die with the rebounding. Is that last level of stubbornness that those guys have, is that they circled almost all the way back to where, when you think about that UMBC loss, the coach, he's at VCU now, Coach Odom. Coach Odom was the coach, right, of UMBC.
Mm-hmm.
So they got them in a couple actions where they just kept running over and over again, and they just kept touching the paint over and over. They figured out a cheat code to the pack line, and they were playing, the ACC has bigger 4s and bigger 5s. And so they were running around and basically playing against 5 guards. So the thing that Coach Sampson and Coach Bennett and Coach McKay will do now is that they are willing to make that one adjustment. And so we all, as a younger coach, I always think about adjustments in terms of every halftime. I'm like, what do we need to do? We need to start trapping. We need to go to zone. We need, like, I'm willing to make any adjustment at any point, at any time during the game to help us win by 1 point. And so whenever we talk about a Coach Bennett or a Coach Sampson adjustment that they make at halftime or in a timeout, it's very well documented. They normally will mention it in a press conference. It will normally be shown on video. Hey, the next year UVA would occasionally switch a 1-4 ball screen, which Dick Bennett and Tony would have never done before the UMBC loss. And so it got widely talked about and widely viewed, and like, man, what a master adjuster. But the essence of the attention that it got is it was born out of their stubbornness. Like, I've gotten caught up in my head coaching journey of wanting it to be more about that instead of being us being a product and a program and a habit filled, like, working group of my stubbornness of the thing. Like, I haven't even established my stubbornness for an adjustment to even matter. And so let's get good at something before you can even adjust off of that. And they're so good to where, like, if Coach Coach Sampson were to go into a game and only send 2 people to the offensive glass, it would change the complexion of the game. Like, let's say that he played Steve Nash's sons, and for whatever reason, him and the staff got together. They would never do this. I mean, he's going to send 5 to the glass before he would ever send 2. They're going to crawl on the glass. Like, no matter how many great shooters he has, if you listen to him talk every fall, he's always sending out that message. Hey, we're not a first shot team. We're a second shot team. We're a third shot team. And he could have like 5 guys that shoot 40% from 3, but that's just what he does. They're going to, at OU, Indiana, at Houston, they're going to, Washington State, my man's like, they're going to get 20 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if he were to ever go into an NCAA tournament game, and I bet there's been some moments where he might have done this, is that he were not to send 4 to the glass, it would change the whole direction, because all that, if Baylor is about to play a Houston team for that 4 days, a Kentucky or a Baylor or a Texas Tech, all they're talking about with Houston is we got to box out. We got to box out. We got to box out. Because that's his stubbornness. Everybody knows what his teams are known for. And so the tricking opponents, hey, I'm all for tricking people. I like that. Like, I don't want people to have a beat on what we're doing. But the best coaches are the ones that are, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, we're better at that than whatever you get to prepare for 3 days. This is what we do year round. This is our whole, when we wake up in the morning, all we're talking about is rebounding for 365 days a year. And so you can do the box out drills all you want, but Houston's getting 20 offensive rebounds. They just are.
The word I'm thinking about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think that I'm reminding myself, having a conversation with you, because we're recording this podcast on the front end of all of our seasons, is that your stubbornness, and then as you're stubborn, are you stubborn on things that are going to show up? Yeah. And are your players capable of doing the things that you want to be stubborn about?
I think a fun exercise would be, especially once you've established some habits a few weeks, maybe a month in, or it could even be maybe with culture too, is ask your players, what are we stubborn about? As a program, as a team, what are we going to be stubborn about this year? And maybe give it up to them to, what are some things that are important to them? And again, it doesn't just have to be with basketball. Yeah, but I think it's important for your players to know what you're stubborn about. Yeah, other coaches can watch a team play, and I think the word I kept thinking about was identity. Like, I watched some teams play and I realized, golly, I just don't know. Like, I don't know what they're about. What are they trying to actually accomplish? I would hope teams watching us is we're trying to get the best shot as fast as possible. And we're okay with taking threes in transition, but they're still good shots from our scale. We're not just taking bad shots, but I mean, that has to be something we're going to shoot courageously. Like, that needs to be something that people understand it's our identity. But it'd be interesting to see, do your players know what you're stubborn about, what you truly want to see every day from them? And also, like, what we want more buy-in. There are part of our stakeholders in our program. What are they stubborn about? I think that'd be a fun activity.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I noticed yesterday is, and they took the wind out of my sails with doing this, is that we're really big on when somebody when we have posters and pictures in the office, and we spend a lot of time on social media or whatever, is that when a teammate goes to the ground, we pick them up. Whenever we're talking as a team, we want to touch a teammate, have an arm around a shoulder. If we're in a timeout, if someone does good, if there's children or different people in the gym, like just basic culture standards that we have, is that when you have the right kids in your program, these things that you want to be about, like we had two guys go down on the court yesterday, and our guys ran over there and picked them up. Well, they kind of stole my thunder because I wanted to tell them, hey, this is what, and they did it naturally. And then when us coaching staff, when we were telling them the schedule for the rest of the week, we're doing some community service or whatnot. They all were touching each other, and they all were like linking up with each other. And they stole my thunder again. Is that this was the week that I was going to tell them that this is what they were going to do. Is that when you have the right people in your program, they instinctively are going to do a lot of the culture things on their own. And then when you're able to force the behavior of people that really don't want to do, like the best programs are the ones that the things that the coach is stubborn about, like we're really stubborn about cheering for your teammates. Like I'll kick a kid off the team if he doesn't. Now, I won't kick a kid off the team for the first time.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to cheer for your teammate, you ain't going to fit in here. Like, you're just not. And so it's important to me. I thought it was important to me as an assistant, but as a head coach, like when the kids are out there playing, if these guys aren't into the game, like it ruins it. I don't care what's going on the court. And we could lose and our whole team be into it. And there's a level of fulfillment and satisfaction that I have of that we are at least on the pathway or the journey of becoming a team. And so that stuff, I think we all figure out as leaders of the things that are important to us. Sometimes it's important. The most important thing to a coach is winning. Sometimes the most important thing to a coach is having the most talent. Sometimes the most important thing to a coach is running the best stuff on offense. That's really important, that it looks a certain way. I've found for me, one of the most important things is that we're all on the same page about a few things. And one of them being is that we're going to cheer for each other. And I'll kick the best player off the team over that. Luckily I've never had to. But that's important. I want the boys to cheer for each other because I think that that's regardless of the philosophical ramifications of why it's important for them later on, it's important to me today. Like, I just care about that. I want to cheer for people.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.